recording. Okay, we're going to start talking today. So we're talking about money. This is basically what the first intro to your guys' macroeconomic stuff. So you guys should have watched the YouTube video that I had posting talking about money and how basically why we put value to money. This was one of the stranger units. If you guys read the book, it talks about the different. So you guys had to do an assignment last night where you had to talk about the different characteristics of money and what they were and why they bring value to money. So what I want you guys to do is, if you have your books, turn to page 252. And so that way you know, because I know some of you probably didn't read it, but if you turn to page 252, you can look up and see all the different characteristics that we have of money. Because we really don't think about why money is important, or we just put value to money and we don't realize why we put value to that thing. So we're just going to talk about that today. And also, if you have not watched the YouTube videos I posted about that also explain how money is made, I would go watch that because it's super cool. Like how it shows you the process of making money. And if you guys didn't know this, money actually isn't paper. It's not actual paper. Does anyone have like a dollar bill with them or anything? I'll show you too. I think I have a dollar or something. I talked about this in the video, but we'll show it again. Money is actually made, not paper. It's made of cotton. Yeah, there you go. Philippe, what is that?
It's a $2 bill.
$2? You have a $2 bill? Oh, sweet. Those are very, very rare. So this thing of money right here.
Looks like it got stepped on though.
Stepped on, yeah. So money is actually cotton and poly, like a couple other things too. But it's like this woven fabric, and there's only one company in the world that makes this type of paper. No one else is allowed to make it. It is illegal to make that type of paper anywhere else in the United States. And the only customer that this company makes it for is the U.S. government. You pay them a lot of money to make money, basically. So when you look at a dollar bill or money at all, too, you can tell that it's usually good by the way it feels. Money has a certain feel to it. If you go to other countries too, you can see like the paper quality isn't as good, or it's just different. This was designed in the United States to be a certain way to make sure that it was light, that people could carry it around. You can definitely tell that there's a certain smell to money. There's different things that just different properties of money that we don't really think about that bring value to it. If you were to feel a dollar bill and it felt like this type of paper, like a sticky note, you would know that it's probably worthless, right? Just from the feel, even the smell of money, all that stuff makes a difference. When you look at the actual printing of this, when you guys watch that video too, you'll see that the printing of money, like it's a specific plate that they use that they do by hand, and there's only a certain amount of artists in the world who will actually engrave plates to make money, and it has to be precise. If it's not, then it's valueless, and they have to start over basically. So, yeah, so money is, so there's the 6 different characteristics that you have. What I want you guys to do is just take a minute. I'm going to start calling people since we have a small class. I'm going to start calling some people. I want you to tell me what you think out of the 6 characteristics of money. Which one do you think is the most important, and why do you think it's the most important one? All right. So go ahead, just like for a minute. Just want you to think, when you're looking at the 6 characteristics of money, I want you to tell me which one you think is the most important one and why it is the most important one. Okay. Everyone good with that?
Yes.
We'll call on people in a couple. I'll give you guys some time to look through. Oh, Jesus. Let's get back. Carla. Yeah. Yeah, we saw Jesus. I saw you. Don't worry, you're good. So Jesus, right now, what we're doing is we're doing the looking through the 6 characteristics of money on page 252. You have to tell me which one that you just think is the most important one and why.
Wait, are you talking to me?
No, for Jesus.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Reyes.
No, Jesus. He just came back in. That's why. Okay, so who wants to go first? Does anyone have one of the
I
characters?
got you.
James, what do you got?
Divisibility.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means it needs to be like divided into smaller, just smaller, I guess, quantities.
Okay.
So like how we have the 5, 10, $20 bills that we have to cut it down. So it's like easy for like different types of like retail places or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Who does anyone agree with that too? Or do you have another one?
Limited supply.
Why is that
What
important?
page is it?
Limited supply.
Why is that
253.
important? Go ahead.
So there's not an excessive amount of money, so it's worth something.
Okay. That's excellent.
I heard there's a $500 bill.
There might be. I think there is. But they don't make I don't think they make many of them. So okay. Anyone else have another one that you think is important or
I said durability.
durability? Why you erase?
Just because, if you have a dollar that is easily like ripped and the wear and tear is just bad, then it's not worth anything, which means, the thing that you worked hard to get, whether that mean, a check or just actual like money,
Yeah.
it's worth nothing if it's not, not ripped.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. So durability, limited supply, and divisibility. I think all those are great. So those are all great examples. The divisibility, I think, is really important. We don't really think about the fact that, like, if you were to go to a store and, like, you only had $100 bill and you can't, like, and you were buying something that's like $10, you're not just going to lose out on $90 just because somebody can't divide the money or give you change, right? So you have to have something that at least can be divided. You're not just going to lose money out on. That's why people wouldn't spend money if they didn't know that they were going to get back the rest of the value of what they were giving, right? The reason why you're willing to hand over a $100 bill to somebody that you're buying something from is because you know if you're buying something for like $60, you're going to get $40 back. But if you knew that you were spending money on, if you're going to spend something that's $60, you're going to give them $100, you would refuse to give that $100 bill and not get back your 40, right? That's why the divisibility is so important. Like, you don't think about this stuff as being valuable, but it is. Like, that gives it more value, where you know that somebody, more than likely, if you go into a store, they're going to have smaller amounts of money that you can divide it by, right? Limited supply, really, really important. If you have too much money, then you have what? Do you guys know? We're gonna talk about this in after break.
Oh,
Inflammation.
Grodin said it. Yeah.
Inflation, right? The inflammation is when you have something on your skin and it's inflamed. Inflation is when the value of your money goes down, right? Because you want a small amount of money. You don't want, because that's what people always say, like, well, why don't we just print out a bunch of money? Well, that doesn't do anything, because it will just make the prices of stuff higher. The value of money goes down, and that's really, really bad. That's when your economy is usually in a really bad situation, is when you have to have high amounts of inflation. That's when you get into situations like in Germany, what we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks. Germany in the 1920s after World War One had an excessive amount of inflation because they were trying to pay off all the debt that they have for the war, and they had to also pay off other countries' debt. And what happened is that bread became like it cost like $100,000 for bread, just for a really simple food item. So a lot of people went hungry and starved. And then at the end of it all, it really hurt Germany, and then it caused a lot of people going to poverty, and then we had the Nazis who arrived from that. So I'm not saying that if you have inflation that all of a sudden you're going to have Nazis, but that's that is an issue, right? So limited supply though is very important, because if you just have too much of something, no one's going to want it. If everyone had the $1 bill is still very valuable, right? I can still go buy at least something with this, something small, but something like this. If I had 5 of them, that's great. Then that I have way more value after that, right? As it keeps going on, though, the value, if everyone had this and the price of stuff was much higher, then the value of my money just doesn't mean anything anymore. The other one,
Mr. Neach,
yeah,
this is the time where I go. I'll see you next class.
that's good. Watch the rest of it later when I post it. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Bye, Mr. Neach.
Right. Okay. So durability is the next one. If Reyes brought this up, if something is durable, and money can pretty much last a long time. You see, how many of you, like, when was this bill made? This was made in 2017. So this is only 2 years old. So this one isn't that old. But I'm sure you probably find coins too. I think I had a quarter somewhere, but I have coins from like 2000 that are like 20 years old. So it's like you have coins that are just like sometimes even older, like 1980s to 1970s. All those types of coins last forever. Same thing with dollar bills. You can find some that last like 20 something years. What you guys don't know is that if you put old money into a bank, the first thing they do is they ship it off to the Federal Reserve, who handles all the money and stuff like that. Not Federal Reserve, to the Treasury Department. They ship it off to the Treasury and to the and I think to the Federal Reserve too. Actually, never mind, I'm lying. They ship it off to the Federal Reserve and to the Treasury, and they destroy it. They destroy old bills, so that way the value of money keeps going down, and they can print new ones and put them out into circulation. All right, some other ones. Does anyone else have any other characteristics that they think are important?
Portability.
Why portability, Jesse?
Because if there is a way that, like, if there is no way that, like, let's say that instead of dollar bills, they're like big coins.
Bricks.
Like basically, coins instead of bricks. Like, no one's gonna want to carry that around, and dollar bills we can carry in our wallets. Like, I don't know if debit cards count, but like.
Oh, they absolutely do. I mean,
Debit cards.
in terms of like the idea of cash on hand, yes.
Yeah, so portability is really important because back in the day, where India had cows, that's not really practical.
Well, I mean, a great example of this is gold, right? Gold weighs a lot, and it takes up a lot of space. So when they were doing the gold rush, you can only carry so much with you, right? So that's why gold kind of went out of style, because it's much more valuable than just like silver or copper or anything that they make coins out of now. But it's also heavy, and it could get really heavy after a while, and people didn't want to carry that around everywhere. So they started to make paper money instead. It just made more sense. So yeah, I think that's a great point. That's a great point. No one wants to lug around a bunch of like you said, bricks, Jesse, like with them, right? Because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you wouldn't have a wallet, basically. It has to be portable. It has to be able to travel far. All right, the last two. Can somebody read off what they are? Anyone? Or should I just read them off?
Which one?
The last two. There's two more that we need to cover.
We got uniformity.
Okay. Uniformity. What is
Any 2 units of money must be uniform. That is the same in terms of what they will buy. In other words, people must be able to count and measure money.
Right. So, like, let's say you went to another country, and in many other countries, sometimes they will not accept the U.S. dollar. But you'll go to some countries, they'll accept that because the U.S. dollar is worth way more, right? If you go to a country and you try to pay with $1 and then with like a Mexican peso, like, or whatever that is too, the two values of those dollars are not the same, right? They do not have the same value to them. So it's hard to transfer over and be like, well, I'm going to take the value of whatever this dollar is compared to that dollar. No, you have to have one uniform dollar altogether in order to make sure you subscribe value to it. So you don't want to mix up money basically in between two economies. That's why we just don't accept other forms of money in the United States, because if we did, it'd be way too confusing. Now, if somebody wanted to pay for something, maybe sometimes it might work in certain private situations. Excuse me. But yeah, you have to have one uniform set of money. If you don't, then it doesn't make any sense. It becomes too confusing. The last one, acceptability. I'll just read this off. Acceptability. If you do not have a dollar that is acceptable to anybody, and what we're going to talk about in a couple weeks is how, for example, Zimbabwe had such bad inflation that they had to print $100 trillion bills for everybody. And I swear to you, this is true. You can actually go find it on Google. Zimbabwe had to print out $100 trillion worth of money because they had such bad inflation that their dollar was like not worth anything. It was really bad for a little bit. Now, however, so people wouldn't accept it as a form of currency after a while because it was basically valueless. But if you go to, for example, if you switch between countries, like for example, for a while there, Europe had a whole bunch of different types of money, right? Every country had their own form of money. And from go to one country in Europe to the next, to the next, to the next was a pain because you kept having to transfer things over and you lose money because so people didn't want to travel between countries. And Europe would lose a lot of money. Now, all of them have one acceptable thing of currency, and that is the euro. So the euro is the only, like now, there's one uniform currency except for Britain and maybe a couple other countries. But Britain is one that they still have the British pound. So they have their own thing. The euro took forever to be accepted. And a lot of countries did not want to accept it because they wanted their own form of money. Everyone was used to it. It'd be like us switching, like putting the dollar together with Canada and with Mexico and a couple other like North American countries, and like everyone going to the same currency. It might help in some things, but I think a lot of people would be resistant to that, right? So that was that's a huge change in Europe. Now everyone just has the euro, and they all are different countries, but they all share one common currency in order to make sure it's easy for one country to accept the euro in one place and then another country to accept the euro in another place. You can travel between the two of them. So it is acceptable to do that. And you know, that's just like if you went and you tried to give them $1, they probably wouldn't accept it because who's gonna, like, maybe some might, but honestly, most people wouldn't because like they don't want to take the time to go transfer the dollar into a euro to do that. So it is, you know, you have to talk about what acceptability is on that level. Okay, so that's really the biggest things I wanted to cover just to make sure we're all good on that. There's different types of, like if you read the chapter, it talks about the sources of money's value and how we put value into it, which again, something that we don't really think about. But those characteristics are good to kind of memorize because then it helps you throughout the rest of the chapter in reading that. And then the other parts of the chapter, Philippe, Alexander Hamilton is back into this, so you know you're welcome. But Hamilton comes back in, and they talk about how Hamilton was one of the first ones to create the United States banking system, and the reason why we bank like we do is because of him. So there's another chapter on that, which I'm having you guys read, and then it talks about banking in general, which we've talked about a little bit in personal finance. So I'm kind of skipping that part. You guys can pretty much answer them because it talks about loans, savings. It talks about different types of banks, which we've kind of talked about. Debit cards versus credit cards, a whole bunch of different stuff that would be basically consider that. So I would definitely tell you to keep looking and reading through the chapter and seeing what you guys, if there's anything else that you would want to learn about money. So does anyone have any questions about this in general when it comes to money or why we put value to money or anything like that? Anything? No? Okay. So, let me explain also what's going to happen over the next couple weeks. So, this week you guys have to finish an assignment yesterday for Wednesday. Then you had class today, which is also part of your points. Friday, you guys have Morgan coin from 1870. Wow, really? Jesus, I didn't see that comment. Oh my god, a Morgan coin from 1878. That's crazy. Okay, so so Wednesday you guys had class today, and then tomorrow you guys have a quiz, I believe, which is just a short one, a short answer quiz where you guys just have to, you have a limited amount of time. But I would tell you when you're doing Google Forms, put it on a Google Doc first, and then transfer it over to the Google form, because just in case, the Google form has been weird with people. Some people have like literally lost their entire test.
Lost my whole essay.
Yeah, I know. I felt bad, James. I'm sorry. But we got to figure it out. But I mean, I really want to make sure.
You can't lose what you didn't do.
So just be careful of that. So put it on a Google Doc maybe, and then transfer it over to Forms just to be safe, and so you have something. What else? So Friday. So that's due Friday or tomorrow. And then you guys have what do you guys have? Next week is a short week, so we're talking about business cycles next week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be posting what was I going to say? I'm going to be posting a YouTube video on Sunday. Actually, I'm probably going to release all this on Saturday, so that way you guys can literally finish my class by Sunday on Monday. Spring break, at least for me. So you guys have you guys have something due on Monday. I have a YouTube video on Saturday. Yes, stop with whatever you're doing. So I'm putting everything out on Saturday. There's a YouTube video that you guys have to watch. You have to listen to a podcast. Oh no, sorry, not for econ. That was for English. Sorry, I'm getting my classes mixed up. You guys basically have to. What do you have to do? Let me see. What had you guys do for sixth period or fifth period? Sorry. Econ week 13. You guys are what week 14? Next week. Okay, so econ. There's two short videos that I want you guys to watch on the 2008 financial crisis and the Great Depression, because we're talking about those next week very quickly. And then there's a sheet that you guys have to do that's due Wednesday, and then that's it. Then you guys are on break. So I'm hoping that I can give everything to you on Saturday, and you guys can get started and turn it in. If you guys turn it in by Monday, you're basically done you're on spring break, at least for my stuff. All right. We do not have class next week because it's on Thursday. Thursday is considered the first day of break. So I'm not having class next week at all. I'm not changing the days, nothing. So you guys are good. Just do that assignment, and then you're all set. And then we come back on April 20th, and then that's about it. So any questions on that?
Nope.
Cool. Okay. So, all right, guys, I will, so I want you guys to watch that today. I would tell you, actually go watch the YouTube videos that I posted, because they're really interesting about why we don't print more money, and two, how money is made. Things that I never really knew. They're really interesting. All right, guys. If there's nothing else, you guys can ask if you want, but if nothing else, you guys are good to go. So,
Later.
Yeah, Jesse, you have a question?
I said see you
Oh,
next week.
Okay. All right. I'll see you later.